guys, I'm Katie with Trouble Me Not Embroidery, and today I'm going to share with you a little business break on how to stitch the little stuffed animals that are called cubbies. A lot of people just don't know how to hoop them very effectively, which can be complicated, but I've come up with my own method that I'm happy to share with you today. So these are the little guys I'm talking about. Super cute. I buy mine from Enmart, and if you haven't found them, definitely look them up. They're an awesome company, and they have lots and lots of different styles of these. Good for girls, boys, different age groups, big brothers, big sisters, new babies, all that good stuff. So definitely check them out. It's myenmart.com. The first trick to stitching on these little guys is to, of course, flip them over, and they have a little zipper right here that you can unzip. So that's the first step. Go ahead and just unzip that, and that reveals your little stuffing pockets that you can pull out. Now, a lot of people think the stomach is where you stop. Go for the head stuffing too. That really helps give you some extra ability to get it on your machine. It also helps you get it hooped a little easier. So now you've got this little guy empty and ready to hoop. Next thing to know that you will need is a hoop. So I use my 5.85 plastic circular hoop that came with my Bravo machine. This hoop gives me the largest sew area in the tummy. A lot of them have a circular tummy space for the embroidery, and I like that this gives me that full circle I can work within. Now, some people really struggle to hoop these guys in this style hoop. So then you can go ahead and grab your magnetic hoop. Magnetic hoops come in a lot of different sizes, but the nice thing is that you can hoop a lot of things very easily. So the cubbies are one of those things that are kind of a little bit more aggressive to hoop. So some people like to use these. Now, I don't care for the fact that it's square, because then I am limited a little bit on that circle as far as exactly how far out I can go on my design. But if my design fits nicely in that 4 1/4 by 4 1/4 hoop, by all means, I'm going to go ahead and give that a shot. Today, I'm going to show you how to use your plastic hoop so that you can hoop it easily and get the most stitch area out of the design that you're going to put on it. So the other thing you'll need is a piece of cutaway or tearaway backing. I like to use cutaway, but if you have a good tearaway, that will work just as well. Partially depends on how many stitches you're putting down. So if you're putting a lot of stitches down, a cutaway is going to give you a little bit more stability. But you can also use 2 layers of tearaway. Now, if you're using 2 layers of tearaway, go ahead and take one like this, take the other one out of the package, and flip it so that they're going opposite directions. That will give you a little bit more stability and keep the tearaway quality, so easy cleanup. The next thing you'll need is your water-soluble topping. So for this one, I'm going to just use one piece. If your design has a lot of details or you're worried about it holding up on the fuzziness of the cubby, go ahead and fold this or do 2 layers. So sometimes that can help cover things well. But in this case, I'm going to go ahead and use 1. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get this hooping underway. So what I like to do is loosen my tension screw a little bit on my hoop, and then I slip that bottom ring in. Now, I always place that tension screw either at the top or the bottom so it's not underneath of my arms here. That way it's easy to adjust once I put it in my garment or whatever I'm stitching. Now I'm going to go ahead and position this so that it's in here about centered. And I'm kind of grabbing this little guy's arms and legs here behind. This one is a little bit bigger than some of them, so it's got a little more room to work with. But once I get it about where I want it, I'm going to go ahead and take the top. Now keep in mind, I'm going to hoop this so that it's towards, the top is actually towards the opening of the cubby. I'm going to take this to the hoop while hanging on to his little arms and legs here. Get him about what I think looks straight and centered. And then I'm going to press that hoop together. Flip him over. Whoop, he popped apart, but I'm going to go ahead and put him back together here. And once I get him, you have to kind of keep his legs and stuff out of the way. Once I get him in that hoop, then I can go ahead and tighten this tension screw up a bit. You want it fingertip tight. So this sets the tension on the fabric you're stitching on, so it's not overly tight. If you ever get hoop burn, you're over tightening your hoop most likely. So go ahead and use the double hoop method. So you hoop it, you set your tension, then you're going to actually unhoop it. So notice he's kind of crooked, not a big deal because I'm actually going to unhoop him and rehoop him. So notice I don't have any stabilizer in here yet. I'm doing that purposefully, and the reason is because we're going to actually float the stabilizer after I get him hooped. And that is because I have found it's much easier to only wrestle with the little cubby than it is to wrestle with the stabilizer and the water-soluble topping. So I'm going to go ahead and press that into place. Then we'll look and see about how straight and centered we got him. He's almost perfect, but not quite. So then I'm going to go ahead and flip him up like this. And I'll just get my hoop rotated just a little bit here. And a lot of times a wrinkle might kind of form and appear there, but once you pop that back together, it'll stretch it out and be just fine. Now notice that if I pet this that way, the fibers kind of stand up. So you want to pet them smooth so that they're laying down as nice as possible. And by floating that stabilizer, what I mean is you'll actually take the stabilizer in now and just place it in here before you put it on your machine. So it will be a little bit easier to work with that way. Then after that, we'll put the water soluble right on top. Okay, now that we have our cubby hooped, we're going to go ahead and put it on the machine. Now I want to mention one really cool thing I like about the Bravo machine is that it has the really small cylindrical arm. So this is the smallest in the industry. It allows you to get into places that are sometimes really difficult on other machines. So cubbies are one, sleeves, pant legs, and things like that are another. Now we're going to take this, and it seems very disturbing kind of. We're going to take this and actually just kind of bring the legs up and around here. We're going to raise this up and over that cylindrical arm and just gently work him onto your machine. And I'm going to come in here, since we're floating that stabilizer, and just double check that it's not bunching or wrinkling real bad and that it's actually still stayed in place. Now you can use Spray Tack 89 or something like that to temporarily adhere that on there. And in this case, I'm going to go ahead, like I said, and put our water soluble over top. Now first, I'm going to trace my design. And I've went ahead and made sure that the design is oriented upside down because the top of my hoop is towards the bottom of my cubby. Now if you ever get confused, go ahead and make a printout of your design and tape it on or pin it onto your cubby, and then you can use that laser trace to go ahead and identify where it's going to land on there. So this one is just a W with the name, and we're going to go ahead and stitch this right in the center of his tummy. And I already have set my pressure foot and my acti-feed. And we've traced, so we're going to go ahead and get this little guy stitching. I hold that water soluble down just long enough for it to get stitching, since it's not in the hoop. Not too big of a deal though, as you can see. If it wrinkles up under there, no worries. It'll be fine because it's going to peel away when we're all done. Alright, now that he's done stitching, we go ahead and remove him from the machine. And you can see that we've got that nice tone on tone with the colors going on with the green and then the light tan to match his body. Alright, it's time for cleanup. So go ahead and peel away what you can of that water soluble. Usually on these it peels away pretty easily. Pop your hoop apart. And then of course we're going to treat this like anything else when we go to clean this up. When we go to clean this up, I want you to always hold it like this rather than like this. I can't see where the garment, or in this case the cubby, is when I hold it that way. So be very careful about how you hold it. so that you don't snip the garment. After all that work, you certainly don't want to go and snip him. So we're going to come in here and just clean this up. You don't have to get super close. You just want to clean it up a little bit. Now keep in mind, kids can always come in here in the zippered part and put a special keepsake or a love note, maybe a prayer, so you can market them in a lot of different ways. I generally don't trim these little tails, but that's a personal choice. It's totally up to you. Now that we've got that trimmed up and cleaned up, it's time to put the stuffing back in. Alright, now that you know how to stitch on these cute little fellas, how do you market them? So that'll be the next question for the day. So in my store, I consider I can put them in my storefront, I can take them to craft shows, I can put them on my Etsy store and online. Definitely use your Facebook page, and when you take pictures of your products, make sure to add those cute little kids you've got in your life to play with them and show them off. And consider when you build a display in your store, try to avoid putting one here and one there and expect that they're going to sell. Make a banner to put in your window so that you can show a whole bunch of them. Make a nice display in your store that shows a whole bunch of these little guys together. So one or two isn't necessarily going to catch a whole lot of attention. However, you start putting 6 or a dozen in a nice little display, show a variety of design options. You can always make a little flip book of designs to hang next to them. And then show personalized ones along with the stock art that Big Brother, or some of those cute little sayings that people can just walk in, buy, and take to a baby shower that day. So instant gratification is definitely something to consider. I've found that when I market these guys out at craft shows and things like that, if I'm not doing on-site stitching, they don't necessarily sell very well as personalized because they don't want to place the order, they want to buy something right now. So in that setting, I found that the pre-stitched, just normal cute designs without names or anything is definitely going to sell better than the personalized take orders, even with free shipping. It's just instant gratification is always good. Another thing to consider is when you build that display in your storefront, go ahead and pair designs or different things that are going to likely sell to the same crowd. So put the little cubbies and then put a few onesies on display. If you print, throw some of those in there too. You could do baby bags, you could do pillows or blankets, all kinds of different kid items, so that you're not just giving them one option. You're showing them a variety of product that's going to cater to that exact market. So anybody that's shopping for a kid can choose from all these different things. Those little hooded bath towels and the blankets and stuff like that are all great options to consider trying to upsell. I almost forgot baptism hankies. That's another thing. You can do like a lamb with a little baptismal date, stuff like that. So not just for the new baby or the big brother, you can really make these work for almost any life occasion. So you can maybe even find a mascot to make a graduation gift, something that is a special thing to keep in their life for a long time. Now in my store, I tend to charge a little bit more for the personalized ones because I do have to set up the design and I send out a proof showing them what they're going to look like, so it's a little bit more work. You can choose, of course, whatever you want. You could always have set templates that they choose from, and then you just produce it with care to that design. So you get to decide what works for your shop. And for those of you who are Bravo users, I just want to mention the machine settings I used may not be perfect for your machine because they each have their own kind of personality. But I used 2 clicks up from the bottom for my pressure foot, and I used the minimum of 3 on my ActiFeed on auto. So those settings worked great for me. Always keep that in mind with your ActiFeed tension. It makes life easy. You can throw different kinds of threads on these guys. So bump your pressure foot, or sorry, leave your pressure foot the same, but maybe consider putting a fuzzy thread on these guys or using a cotton thread or something a little different. You can even use metallic threads. So grab a unicorn and stitch the name in metallic threads. Use the 9014 needle. Maybe have to adjust your digitizing depending on what thread you're using. If you're using Iris metallic threads from Enmart, I run those on the 9014 needle, and I adjust, I let the machine adjust the ActiFeed tension, so it actually adjusts on the go for me, which is pretty cool. And if you're looking for a new machine, or you think, wow, this looks a lot easier on that machine than mine, you give me a call and I'll get you a Bravo. It's got a lot of amazing capabilities at a very reasonable price point. And you get 2 days of on-site training with me, and we get to build your training to what you're looking to do in your business. I'd love to be part of your evolution. Keep on stitching!